We are live on the Alex Jones Show, and we're back with a guest who joined us before the election, and it's kind of a triumphant return because he came on, he said the polls were wrong. The polls that said Hillary Clinton was ahead by 5, 6, 7 points in all these different states. He was proven to be completely right. He is Bill Mitchell, host of Your Voice Radio, again, widely credited with being one of the top election influencers on Twitter, and the website is yourvoiceradio.com. Bill, welcome back to the show.
Hi, great to see you again. How are you?
Pretty good, and we're going to get into the serious stuff in a little bit, but I want to get your hot take on Kanye West visiting Trump Tower. This has kind of thrown a lot of people for a loop. Do you think, there's actually any substance in this meeting? Is it just about him performing at the inauguration? Or could it be, as some people have suggested, a kind of 3D chess move from Trump to distract the media from their obsession with Russian hacking?
Well, I think that this is a sign or a side effect of Trump being really the first post-ideological president that I can remember having. I mean, most people go in with a preconceived notion that it's got to be, this set of conservative ideals or this set of liberal ideals. Whereas Trump is what I call a resultist. He's focused on the end result. His mind lives in the future, and he puts the pieces together so they fit into that picture that he's got. And that's why sometimes these moves like Kanye West or something don't make sense to us linear thinkers, because in the moment it's like, what? We don't get it. But it makes sense. Whatever Donald Trump has got in his mind, that Make America Great picture, somehow Kanye West fits into that. And I think that Kanye West just probably looks at Donald Trump and says, hey, here's a sharp, competent guy, made a lot of money. There's a lot of things about him that I admire. And I'm going to look past the fact that I'm not supposed to like Republicans and go in and have a sit down with this guy. So I think it's great. Trump has shown us that he's willing to sit down and talk with pretty much anybody. And I think that's great compared to Obama's response during the healthcare debate, where he told Republicans needed to get into the back of the bus, which was very unfortunate phrasing on his part. But I think this is a good sign.
Well, I mean, as the late, great Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. A lot of people don't get their news from the nightly news. They don't get it from newspapers, thank God. They get it from celebrities. They get it from entertainment news. So again, this can only be a positive step. Again, I think Trump is way ahead of any Republican president to be before him in reaching out to people like Kanye West. Of course, Twitter has reacted with complete revulsion. The left is openly using racial slurs once again against Kanye West because he met with Trump, proving once more that, people of color who just even dare to express or even threaten to express a difference of opinion are immediately seized upon by the left, once again proving the left is completely intolerant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to the far left, progressivism is the truth. That is the ultimate truth. And facts really have no meaning. Facts are only true to the progressives if they support progressivism. If they don't, if they're just completely made up things out of thin air, but they support progressivism, then they become true. This is how these people can live with themselves. This is how they can constantly lie to us and go to sleep at night, go home to their families and not feel like bad people because they feel like they're serving the greater truth. And then when Kanye West goes from being a Democrat or a liberal or a progressive champion and all of a sudden opens his mind to Donald Trump, then Kanye West is no longer part of the greater progressive truth, and therefore he becomes a lie. So that's the way they look at things. They like to put people in baskets. They talk about Republicans profiling. We're not the ones profiling. It's the Democrats. It's Hillary Clinton that talked about the basket of deplorables. They're always wanting to put people in groups. And, Donald Trump looks at people as individuals. He's like, you know what? I'm going to give you the best playing field, the best opportunity as an individual to prosper in this country. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to win, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to win if you're willing to try hard and do a good job. And so this is a whole new way of looking at things. And I think it's a Big Tent approach. And I think it's attracting a lot of people that aren't, wedded to the whole progressive idea.
Exactly. It's about, not preaching to the choir. There's been speculation of an informal outreach role for Kanye West. We'll see what happens with that. The media is freaking out about it, of course, as they do with absolutely everything that Trump says or does. Let's move on to Russia, though, because we played the clip before the break. Obama gave an interview with The Daily Show last night in which he said that the information revealed by the DNC leak was, quote, fairly routine stuff. He said it was not interesting. He said there was no, quote, explosive content in those emails. Yet we have the flip side of the narrative, which was that Russia supposedly hacking this information completely undermined and influenced the election. Well, you can't have it both ways, Obama. But Bill, first your take on, the regurgitation of this old Russian hacking smear And
Yeah.
Obama's seeming flip-flop that the DNC leaks contained routine stuff anyway. So how could that have influenced the election?
Right. It's actually, it's funny, but the media keeps referring to our fake news, hashtag fake news. And I came up with a new hashtag on Twitter yesterday, baked news, baked, not fake. And this is what the media does. They cook up these concoctions. And it's just, you can just see these people around a table in a smoke-filled room smoking cigars. And it's like, hey, what if we try this? Well, how about this, And, this whole Russian thing didn't really become a story until it became clear the recounts were failing. The recounts were a nothing burger. And then they came up with this. So it's just one thing after another. They try things and try things and try things, but they don't understand that Donald Trump is 10 steps ahead of them. They're responding to what's happening right now. They're thinking in the moment. Donald Trump is way, way ahead. And so that's why none of this stuff works. As a matter of fact, it's almost like the political theory of relativity, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And it seems like no matter what these people do to oppose Trump, it ends up benefiting him. For instance, the recounts. Okay, the recounts ended up benefiting Trump because it showed that there was no Russian hacking. The media could have run with the Russian hacking thing of the vote in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania for Trump's entire term. But because they did the recount, they're like, no, there's no cheating. So it validated his win in those blue wall states. So this was meant to tear Trump down and ended up benefiting him. And this Russian thing does the same thing. And so what Democrats are really doing here is they're beclowning themselves by hooking onto whatever little butterfly flies by that looks like it might hurt Trump. And they're just making themselves look like fools for 2018 when they're at risk of losing a supermajority to the Republicans. So, this Russian story is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to change any electors' minds. Like I said, it's just big news, and people are onto them now.
Well, everybody freaks out about it. And to some extent, I think we should freak out just to counter their narrative. I think that's what a lot of people did with the recount. They thought, oh, this could be swayed, this could be manipulated. Of course, it ended up with Trump was ahead by over 500 votes in Wisconsin after the recount. The one in Pennsylvania failed. The one in Michigan failed. So as he said, that failed. The death threats to electoral members failed. The riots have failed. So this is just their latest play. I think it's of concern given that you've got people like, Lindsey Graham, John McCain coming out now, spinning this narrative, which they're going to do over the next 7 days, of trying to pressure electoral members into changing their vote. We've got 10 of them, but only one Republican demanding to see intelligence on this. Of course, we know it doesn't exist. It's completely trumped up. The FBI says it's fuzzy and ambiguous. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence says it has a lack of evidence. So do you think this is going to be successful in changing any members of the Electoral College as we head towards this vote on December 19th?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll tell you why. And this is, over the last 100 years, you've only had singleton electors that changed their vote, and none of these had an effect on the outcome. And they were just protest votes. They did. It was like, oh, I'm just one guy. I can make a protest here. It doesn't matter. But what people need to realize is that these people that are chosen as electors tend to be real political junkies. These are people very involved in politics at the state level. They want to have a future in politics. Okay. And one of the most important things, if you want to have a future in politics, is your credibility, your trustworthiness. And if somebody becomes a faithless elector, they are basically flushing their political future down the drain. And for what? It's not going to make a difference. So what's going to happen is when it becomes clear, when we get to the electoral college vote, that there aren't 38 electors that are going to flip, because there won't be. It's just impossible. There aren't going to be 38 electors. Nobody is going to flush their political career down the toilet to make a political statement, except for maybe this guy, Supron in Texas, who seems like a plant anyway, because he's using a liberal think tank and a marketing firm to back him. So, I don't think this guy was ever really Republican in the first place, but yeah, I think this is going to go just like, remember at the convention, we heard a week before the convention, oh, there were 28, 30, 40 delegates that were ready to flip on Trump. And it ended up being like 2, because when it comes to, people can say they're going to do these things, but it really comes down to it. And there are really consequences. And people are really saying, yeah, if I do this, my career in politics is over, because nobody will ever trust me again. Because, most of these delegates, even if it's legal for them to flip in their state, they've signed pledges that they will vote for the winner, right? So yeah, their credibility is gone. You might as well just, erase their entire resumes and put big fat liar on there, So it's I don't think there's any concern at all. I think this is, once again, much ado about nothing. It's a tale told by a fool full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And I think that's what's going to turn out.
I agree. You've got Michael Moore going on, nightly shows, again, trying to fan the flames of hysteria. I think that's what it is. They're trying to create this hysterical attitude amongst people that, you know, the Russian hack thing is devastating. It's going to undermine everything. They're trying to intimidate, force people into changing their votes. It hasn't worked with their other plays. It's not going to work again. We'll be back with Bill Mitchell on the Alex Jones Show live after the break. Don't go away. We are back on the Alex Jones Show live. We're going to go back to Bill Mitchell of YourVoiceRadio.com here in a moment. First, I want to tell you about the Christmas specials at InfoWarsLife.com. Again, a massive raft of discounts right in time for Christmas. You still have time to get these as gifts. Again, InfoWarsLife.com. Living Defense, 30% off. Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver, 50% off. That's half price for a limited time only. Brain Force Plus, 30% off. Again, that's what I take before I do the show. Has excellent effects in terms of enhancing cognitive ability. Now they've got the Brain Force Plus, 30% off. That's huge. Winter Sun Vitamin D. I need a bit of that right now. 25% off. Survival Shield X2, 30% off. And Bio True Selenium, 30% off. Free store-wide shipping. Free shipping on everything. If you order today, you get guaranteed delivery by Christmas. And more importantly, you support this network, which is under attack, under assault by the mainstream fake news media every single day, to the point where we can't even keep up with it anymore. Because we're winning and they're butthurt about it. That's why they're having to go on the offensive, refusing to actually have an ounce of self-awareness and think about why they lost the narrative, why their rhetoric doesn't resonate with the American people, and why ours does. We're under attack constantly. We need your support. Free store-wide shipping on all those massive Christmas super sale specials at InfoWarsLife.com. We've got a few minutes here before the break with Bill Mitchell. Bill, let's switch gears a little bit. We talked about hysteria on the left. Let's talk about a little bit of hysteria on the right, because there's been a lot of what I call flouncing on the right over Trump's, rhetoric, his appointments. We've had people who've supported Trump for, the best part of 18 months suddenly vowing to withdraw their support because they have a knee-jerk reaction to something they don't like. I mean, you've called a lot of these people out on Twitter. These people who supported Trump, who flip out at anything he does that they don't like and say, I refuse to support him anymore before he even gets in office, what would your message to those people?
Yeah, we elected, let me put it this way. We elected Donald Trump for his judgment and his instincts, okay? And if these appointments mean that he has bad judgment and bad instincts, that individual appointment will be the least of our problems, okay? We are if Donald Trump has got bad judgment and bad instincts, we are completely and utterly screwed, okay? But he doesn't. He has great judgment. He has great instincts. So trust the fact that when he is considering these various people, he has more information than you do. Sometimes when people say no to something, actually, whenever somebody says no to something, there's one or two things happening. Either they really don't want to do it, or they don't have enough information to say yes. And in these cases, Donald Trump has got more information about these people than you do. In addition, he is looking at each of these people in his cabinet not as an individual piece that has to stand on its own, but as part of a larger picture that will all work together. He's hiring very highly competent, sharp people that can hit the ground running and remember these words, get results. This is going to be a new type of Republican administration. This isn't going to be a stamp your feet, wave your arms, we'll get them next time administration. This is going to be your results now administration. And so he's hired people that have got a track record of results. And this is why, even when he was considering Mitt Romney as Secretary of State, I said on Twitter, I said, well, if he picks Mitt Romney, I'll back the pick because I trust the man's judgment. But I don't think he will, because Mitt Romney does not have, at least over the last decade or so, a track record of winning. This is not a guy that wins. And Trump wants people that have got a track record of winning and succeeding. And I think that that's one of the things that he's looking for in these cabinet picks. So, and he's got a broad spectrum of folks. I think this may be the wealthiest cabinet we've ever had in history. And these people are walking away from very, very lucrative jobs to serve America in these roles. So I'm excited about it. I mean, I think it's going to be wonderful. And this is why I recommend to folks, listen, if he makes a cabinet pick you don't like, just, go out there and say, yeah, Mr. Trump, I don't like this cabinet pick. Get on Twitter and say, I don't care for this person, but don't get yourselves into the trap of doubting Trump himself, because what will happen is you'll find out that cabinet pick was great, or they didn't make it at all, and you'll end up having to walk it back and looking like a fool, okay? You want to be big on Twitter, be consistent. And if you're back and forth, one day you love him, the next day you hate him, one day you love him, people can stop listening to you. So be consistent. And let's give this guy time. Give him 100 days. Let's get back to 100 days after he takes office and see how these picks work out. I think it's going to blow people away. I don't want to give a soliloquy here, but let me throw one more thing in. One of the things
Okay,
that is
Bill, let's go to break. Just hold that thought. Let's hit the next break. We're going to talk about Mitt Romney. We're going to talk about the appointments so far, and we'll be back live on the Alex Jones Show with Bill Mitchell. Don't go away. It's Paul Joseph Watson in for Alex Jones. We're talking to Bill Mitchell of YourVoiceRadio.com. Now, before the break, Bill, we were getting into this, again, this flouncing on the right. We saw it with Mitt Romney, even though he wasn't selected in the end, which, proves that Trump listened to his base. But even the suggestion of it caused many people to just completely flip out, say they were abandoning the entire Trump train altogether before he even gets into office. Just finish the thought you were making before the break there.
Yeah, it's crazy because, and my response to these people, and some of these people were big name people. I don't mind going up against big name people if I, disagree with them. And, my response is, so what exactly are you going to do for the next 4 years? Just sit in the corner and, cry and eat potato chips while we make America great again? I mean, come on. This presidency is bigger than just one cabinet position. It's bigger than just one policy. This is an entire sea change in the way America does business. Don't miss out on this because, as you use the expression for, you got butthurt over one position you disagree with. Because remember, we elected Donald Trump president. We didn't elect whoever is having this problem, this pundit president. So it's not up to Donald Trump to do what they say. It's up to Donald Trump to use his judgment to do what he thinks he should do to lead this country. And fortunately, he surrounded himself by absolutely brilliant people. Donald Trump has got so many good people around him, so many good operational people around him, that it will free him up to travel the globe, selling the American brand, being the face of this new "Make America Great Again" message that we're putting out there. And I think that's what he wants to do. He's a marketing guy. He wants to brand, he wants to market, he wants to be out there. So he's got enough operational people around him where he doesn't have to get too tied up in the day-to-day minutia of what's going on. He's got Pence, he's got all these other great people at very high levels. So I'm excited about it. And, I think this is buying him some insurance with the Electoral College because he's done such a competent job that even people that may have doubted him before were like, well, he seems like he's doing okay. And also the carrier thing. To me, the carrier air conditioner thing was like when Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers. People forget, I was around back then, that when Ronald Reagan first took office, he wasn't doing very well at the beginning. He was being treated kind of badly. And then, he was just some movie star, a B movie star, and now he's president. And then when the air traffic controllers went on strike, he went in there and said, oh, really, you're going on strike? You're fired. And they were like, oh, no, we want to negotiate. Like, oh, no, you're fired. And all of a sudden, he earned his badassery credentials. He earned his tough guy credentials. And from then on, people always said, if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And I think Donald Trump earned a lot of goodwill with that carrier move, even though it was just 1,000 jobs. It earned a lot of goodwill. So I think those things are going to protect him in the Electoral College because really it comes down to the will of the people. And I think the will of the people is behind him right now. One last thing. Investor confidence off the charts right now. They just had a new poll of small business confidence off the charts right now. I mean, people are excited about this presidency, and we're not going to have a couple turncoats out there turn this around. So I'm not worried about the electoral college at all.
No, and I mean, the point is he's not in office. He's laid out this 100-day contract with the American people. At least give him 100 days. I mean, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I've seen it so many times, especially on Twitter. But I will get to this, and this, I think, is, it's more of a legitimate criticism that's been leveled by some. Mitt Romney's out. Trump listened to his base. That's great. But now we have Rex Tillerson, ExxonMobil CEO. He's the Secretary of State. We got Stephen Mnuchin, ex-Goldman Sachs. This charge has been made. I want to get your response to it. How can Trump be draining the swamp while recruiting what many would consider establishment insiders like Tillerson and Mnuchin?
Well, I compare it to, ancient man had a problem with wolves. Wolves would attack and eat them. They'd attack and eat the sheep. And they could have just killed all the wolves. But, and they killed some. But some they turned into, man's best friend. And this is what happens when you drain the swamp, too, is some of the alligators you got to kill. But some of them, you can train to work for you. And I think that is one of the things that Donald Trump is doing is he's, I think Abraham Lincoln said, do I not defeat my enemies when I make them my friends? And I think that that's what he's doing is he's taking people that have got skills and he's showing them that his leadership is the way. This is one thing that a great negotiator does. A great negotiator shows their opponent that it is in their own best interest to follow their leadership. This is much better because the alternative to what Trump is doing would be to have an insurgency with all these people attacking him and blocking his agenda. You know, if these people, if he feels like he can trust these people and they've got the right skill sets, then much better to have them on Trump's team with a changed attitude, a changed idea. You know, entire governments and countries have been formed just on an idea. America was formed on an idea. And if they believe in Donald Trump's idea for America, you can take somebody who was formerly an enemy and turn them into a great asset. And I think that's what he's doing. And the fact that these are big time power players, awesome. You know, one of the best things about a power player is their you know, Rolodex, the people they know. They have the contacts to get things done, to cut through the red tape. They've got the friendships, the relationships. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And you know, let's give him 100 days. Even if, you know, you don't like a particular pick, like I said, say something about it. Donald Trump, double blind test. You know, he puts ideas out there. He wants to hear back from people to, I'm sorry, he wants to hear back from people to see what they think. So that's good. But don't you know, jump off the Trump train over, because you're just going to end up looking foolish, because you're going to get back on when you see all the good stuff happening. So just try to remain faithful. You know, have some belief in the guy. You elected him. Remember why you elected him, and you know, just let's be unified. This is the one thing the media is trying to do, and the Democrats are trying to do, is break our unity. So if we can maintain our unity, we have really defeated their entire purpose. That's their last best chance, is to defeat us. They can't defeat us from the outside. They tried. They can only defeat us from the inside. So if we remain strong and united inside, even if you have a doubt here or there, you know, I mean, face it, after 8 years of getting 0% of what I want, I'm perfectly happy getting 80% of what I want from a president. If there's a few things that Trump does that I disagree with, whatever. I'm getting 80% of what I want, and I'm ecstatic.
Now, I want to move on to fake news because, of course, we've had this stunning lack of self-awareness amongst the media. They were caught in bed with the Clinton campaign. They were caught in their complicity. They were caught pushing fake news, fake narratives the entire election cycle. You know, Hillary Clinton, 98% inevitable to become president. Their already crumbling trust that the American people had in them collapsed even further. Their first reaction was not self-analysis, was not to look in the mirror. It was to lash out at everybody else, accuse them of being fake news. Of course, there is actual fake news. There are websites that put out completely concocted headlines to make advertising dollars. That is separate from having a different opinion, from having dissident true news like, you know, InfoWars, Breitbart, Zero Hedge, whoever you want to mention. Obviously, it was an attempt to censor us, right? This is their attempt to put teeth into what's going through Congress right now with the banning the Russian propaganda, and what's happening in Silicon Valley with Facebook and Twitter now adopting this fake news list. The two that have been released so far, the first one was cooked up by a far-left feminist professor. That was adopted wholesale before we exposed it. The second list has been completely debunked as coming out of a neocon organization, again, completely shadowy. The Washington Post had to back away, said they couldn't vouch for the validity of it. And yet we've got Hillary Clinton coming out and saying, this is going to cause innocent people to be killed. Isn't that rich, Bill, given that she blamed innocent people being killed in Benghazi on a YouTube video, which was in and of itself the biggest act of fake news you could ever wish to imagine.
It's incredible. You know, it's amazing to sit here and watch the left self-immolate, you know, and basically pour the can of gas on their heads and light themselves on fire on a daily basis. It's just, you know, just like, we almost don't even need to criticize them anymore. And, you know, Obama talked about shovel-ready jobs. Well, he finally came through with shovel-ready jobs, and that's the DNC, because they've got a big old shovel, and they are just digging and digging and digging. And they're trying to position themselves to win back Congress in 2018, but it's just going to have the opposite effect. They're making clowns of themselves. And this is, you know, the reason why Hillary Clinton lost is historically, there's a lot of reasons. Historically, it would have been almost impossible for her to basically earn a third term for Obama. Over the last 6 times that there's been an opportunity for that, it's only worked once, and that was with Reagan, and he was very popular when he was reelected. So, you know, the fact that Obama was won reelection with fewer votes than he was originally elected, I mean, historically, it would have been almost impossible for Hillary to win this election. But, you know, it's just, the problem they have is their entire philosophy, the progressive philosophy, is broken. They tried it. You know, Dr. Obama cured us of liberalism as a country by implementing it fully. You know, he really exposed it for what it was. And people were like, we don't like this. You know, it sounds great when you give great speeches, but when you do it, it kind of is awful. And so they, you know, people want results. People want to be special. Americans want to think of themselves as a big deal. We want to think of ourselves as special. We want to think of ourselves as the lighthouse on the hill. We don't want to be average. We don't want to be bowing to other leaders of other countries, you know? And this is what Trump is tied into. They say that your personal happiness is a measure of what your life is like compared to what you expect it to be like. Well, Americans expect themselves to be special. And when we don't feel special, we're unhappy. You know, this is why 73% of Americans in a poll before the election were unhappy with the direction of the country, because America wasn't making them feel like they want to feel. And this is what's exciting about Trump, especially once we start to get some results, is that Trump is going to make us feel how, as Americans, we want to feel. And that's self-actualization. And when people achieve self-actualization and tie it to an individual, they defend them because that individual sort of becomes them, becomes their voice. And that's what Trump said, I am your voice. So yeah, this is a very powerful thing that the Democrats are up against. I don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I think they're basically just done. You know,
I mean, do you think, I mean, of course, Trump had the temerity to say America first and that he would put Americans' interests first. God forbid, that completely triggered the mainstream media and the left. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I mean, what is the left going to do? Are they going to have to come back with their next move and kind of rebrand themselves as a populist movement, this kind of Bernie Sanders brand? Is that even going to work? Do they have the setup to accomplish that? I mean, is that the only direction in which they can go now?
They have their only reaction will be to go further left. That's the only life raft they've got. And the problem is they've got no bench now. You know, people don't talk much about the local government and state governments, but we control, I think, almost 75% of state legislatures now. That's the bench where you develop, that's the minor leagues where you develop your national leaders. Democrats don't have anything. They've got nobody. You know, the average age of the congressional leadership is in the mid-70s. They're literally dying out. And they have nobody to come in and replace them, no future stars. There is no, Barack Obama Part 2 coming up in the party. And they're in trouble. I think the average age of Republican leadership now is like 45 or 50 years old. It's just crazy. So here's the ultimate irony, is that the Republican Party has become the party of youth. Who would have ever figured that, right? But it has, you know, and we're winning millennials over. I mean, I've got a millennial DJ from New Jersey that is one of my co-hosts on Thursday night. Great guy. I've had other guest hosts that are millennials. I mean, people are tired of living in their parents' basement. You know, they're tired of getting out of college and not being able to pay their bills and their loans. People want to win. And it's just, you know, with Donald Trump, it's not just an idea, it's not just a philosophy, but they actually see an opportunity that, okay, maybe I can actually win here. And that starts to catch on. So I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. And, you know, one of the big pushes of Trump is going to be urban renewal. And I keep referring to that as the last blue wall. Okay, we broke down the blue wall in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Inner cities are the last blue wall. And if we can give those people real hope, I mean, hope that's based on action and change and a real sense of future and better education and a better place to live, clearing, you know, I work with Bill Pulte, and he's clearing out neighborhoods. He's got the Blight Authority, which is going into neighborhoods and clearing. I think he cleared out like 10 or 20 blocks, city blocks in Detroit recently. You know, this is going to be their last stronghold, and we're going right for the heart of it. You know, and not by some political game or some speech, but by, you know, solving these people's problems. So I'm excited. I feel sorry for those guys, for the Democrats.
No, exactly. I mean, it's about going into these communities and giving them some hope. I mean, what was Hillary offering them? The same old story, stuck in the ghetto, dependent on government. What kind of hope does that give to anybody? So, yeah, and you've got the other factor, which, of course, is, you know, Trump felt like a form of rebellion. Conservatism is now the new counterculture. When every facet of the establishment is lined up against something, then that something becomes the new counterculture. And that's why you said, you know, a lot of young people are coming on board now. The flip side is we had a poll today, only 13% of Democrats are enthusiastic about their party's future. So they're in big trouble. Final couple of minutes in this segment, though, I just want to get onto Twitter. We've seen a lot of pro-Trump accounts banned by Twitter recently. You've been criticized, I've been criticized by elements of the alt-right for suggesting that it's not exactly a smart idea to constantly be fighting with Twitter's policies. Just speak to that, because I know you've tweeted about it recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Jack, the CEO, you know, and I said, you know, Jack, listen, I know your politics are different than mine, but I just want to say thanks for giving me this platform. I mean, you could have cut me off at any moment. I've been a big voice for Trump in this election. I think I made a difference in this election. You could have cut me off anytime, and you didn't. You know, you let me be on there. And I just appreciate it. You know, my philosophy is, you know, never complain about the cook's cooking when you're still eating, you know? And here's the thing, folks, you know, Twitter is free. You know, it's their house. They don't have to do anything for you. Okay, it's not like they're controlled by the government. They have to offer you this and they have to offer you that. They make their own rules. So don't poke them in the eye. You know, if you want to go after the Democrats, go after the Democrats. If you want to go after Hillary, go after Hillary. But, you know, don't be slamming Twitter on Twitter. It's just stupid. I mean, come on, use your noodle, right? If you want to complain about, go over and complain about them on Facebook. Don't complain on Twitter. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think where it crosses the line is what we've seen in Europe, where Twitter and Facebook are teaming up with governments to then hunt down people and give them home visits from the police for making, you know, comments critical of migrant policy. So I think that's when it crosses the line, when they characterize legitimate dissent as hate speech and then work with the government to oppress people. But, you know, that's slightly different from Twitter's own internal policies. But we'll be back with the final segment with Bill Mitchell. This is the Alex Jones Show live, breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away. We'll be back. We're live. It's the final segment of the Alex Jones Show. Going to go back to Bill Mitchell here in a second, but just want to direct you to our Christmas super sale specials at InfoWarsLife.com. We have Living Defense, 30% off, Silver Bullet, Colloidal Silver, 50% off, and store-wide free shipping on everything. Brain Force Plus, 30% off. Again, huge discounts at InfoWarsLife.com. Guaranteed delivery by Christmas if you order today. We also have Super Blue fluoride-free toothpaste, exciting new product at InfoWarsLife.com. Again, you should be using fluoride-free toothpaste anyway. I've been using it for well over a decade. Why not get it at InfoWarsLife.com? Again, has a special formula where it actually works, unlike a lot of fluoride-free toothpaste, which doesn't froth up properly. This one works, keeps your breath fresh, it's healthy, and it supports this network as we're constantly attacked by the mainstream media on a daily basis. Free store-wide shipping on everything right now at InfoWarsLife.com. Bill Mitchell, we have a couple of minutes left here. Final comments, and just tell people where they can find you on Twitter and how they can hear your show.
Sure. You can reach Your Voice Radio in a couple different places. You can find us on Spreaker, which is our audio feed, at www.Spreaker, that's like speaker with an R after the P, Spreaker.com/user/Mitchell, VII. And we are on there. We have a 1-hour show on there Sunday night through Thursday night. You can listen to us at 8 p.m. or anytime thereafter. And we do pre-tape at 6 and upload the show at 8. So even if you get in late, you can just jump on in there and start right at the beginning. You don't miss anything. So that's really good. We also have a YouTube version of our show, which if you just go to YouTube and search on Bill Mitchell, you can follow my channel. I'll come up as the #1 under Bill Mitchell. And we've been on the air for about 6 months now and just surpassed a total of 1.2 million plays. So we're happy about that. You know, getting started as a podcast is a slog. It's hard. And we've just been very, very successful. And we really appreciate our listeners for that. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mitchell VII. I think I have about 165,000 followers now. In the 24 hours of the election night, my Twitter feed did 88 million hits and 400,000 retweets. So we get a lot going on in that Twitter feed. So definitely check that out. And also you can visit us at yourvoiceradio.com. So.
Okay, and again, follow Bill on Twitter because he's an absolute powerhouse. He's on top of all the breaking news, an excellent follow on Twitter. And that's why he's been named over and over again as one of the top election influencers. It's yourvoiceradio.com. Bill, thanks for joining us today.
I tell you, man, I love being on your show. It's always fascinating. So thank you.
All right, good to have you. We'll have you back in the near future. There goes Bill Mitchell again, yourvoiceradio.com. Final minute here of the Alex Jones Show. Let's hit a couple of news headlines. Merkel's party says Putin would like to see her fall in 2017. Well, what do you know? Now Angela Merkel is blaming Vladimir Putin for her cratering popularity numbers. Of course, it has nothing whatsoever to do with the fact that she's brought in over 1 million Muslim migrants over the past year, that her policies are completely failing, that Germans are afraid to go out in the streets, that they have terrorists being caught every week now in major German cities. No, nothing to do with that. That's not why Angela Merkel's popularity is plummeting. It's because of Vladimir Putin. Again, they haven't even had the election. The election's not for 3 months, and they're already getting in their excuses ahead of time, with Angela Merkel now blaming Vladimir Putin. We've got other stories. The FBI says the CIA's Russian hacking assessment is basically fluff. We have another intel agency saying the same thing. These twin narratives of fake news and Russian hacking are collapsing within 48, 72 hours of the mainstream media putting them out. We are winning. They will be defeated. Stay tuned for the 4th hour of The Alex Jones Show. Breaking news at Infowars.com.
right through December 17th, the last day that we can guarantee you'll get your order before Christmas in the United States, we're offering store-wide free shipping. And on top of that, some of the biggest discounts of the year. 30% off Living Defense Parasite Cleanse. 50% off Colloidal Silver Bullet, and free shipping. That is just an incredible deal. Brain Force Plus, now with 20% more in each bottle and 30% off. $19.95, can't beat that deal. Winter Sun, Vitamin D3, 25% off. Survival Shield, X2, Nascent Iodine, again, an amazing 30% off. BioTrue Selenium, 30% off, and that's just some of the specials. Check them out today at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com, or call toll free. The great crew will answer your questions, tell you about some of the other specials, and take your order if you'd like. 888-253-3139.
We are live on the Alex Jones Show, and we're back with a guest who joined us before the election, and it's kind of a triumphant return because he came on, he said the polls were wrong. The polls that said Hillary Clinton was ahead by 5, 6, 7 points in all these different states. He was proven to be completely right. He is Bill Mitchell, host of Your Voice Radio, again, widely credited with being one of the top election influencers on Twitter, and the website is yourvoiceradio.com. Bill, welcome back to the show.
Hi, great to see you again. How are you?
Pretty good, and we're going to get into the serious stuff in a little bit, but I want to get your hot take on Kanye West visiting Trump Tower. This has kind of thrown a lot of people for a loop. Do you think, there's actually any substance in this meeting? Is it just about him performing at the inauguration? Or could it be, as some people have suggested, a kind of 3D chess move from Trump to distract the media from their obsession with Russian hacking?
Well, I think that this is a sign or a side effect of Trump being really the first post-ideological president that I can remember having. I mean, most people go in with a preconceived notion that it's got to be, this set of conservative ideals or this set of liberal ideas. Whereas Trump is what I call a resultist. He's focused on the end result. His mind lives in the future, and he puts the pieces together so they fit into that picture that he's got. And that's why sometimes these moves like Kanye West or something don't make sense to us linear thinkers, because in the moment it's like, what? We don't get it. But it makes sense. Whatever Donald Trump has got in his mind, that Make America Great picture, somehow Kanye West fits into that. And I think that Kanye West just probably looks at Donald Trump and says, hey, here's a sharp, competent guy, made a lot of money. There's a lot of things about him that I admire. And I'm going to look past the fact that I'm not supposed to like Republicans and go in and have a sit down with this guy. So I think it's great. Trump has shown us that he's willing to sit down and talk with pretty much anybody. And I think that's great compared to Obama's response during the healthcare debate, where he told Republicans needed to get into the back of the bus, which was very unfortunate phrasing on his part. But I think this is a good sign.
Well, I mean, as the late, great Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. A lot of people don't get their news from the nightly news. They don't get it from newspapers, thank God. They get it from celebrities. They get it from entertainment news. So again, this can only be a positive step. Again, I think Trump is way ahead of any Republican president to be before him in reaching out to people like Kanye West. Of course, Twitter has reacted with complete revulsion. The left is openly using racial slurs once again against Kanye West because he met with Trump, proving once more that, people of color who just even dare to express or even threaten to express a difference of opinion are immediately seized upon by the left, once again proving the left is completely intolerant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to the far left, progressivism is the truth. That is the ultimate truth. And facts really have no meaning. Facts are only true to the progressives if they support progressivism. If they don't, if they're just completely made up things out of thin air, but they support progressivism, then they become true. This is how these people can live with themselves. This is how they can constantly lie to us and go to sleep at night, go home to their families and not feel like bad people because they feel like they're serving the greater truth. And then when Kanye West goes from being a Democrat or a liberal or a progressive champion, and all of a sudden opens his mind to Donald Trump, then Kanye West is no longer part of the greater progressive truth, and therefore he becomes a lie. So that's the way they look at things. It's they like to put people in baskets. They talk about Republicans profiling. We're not the ones profiling. It's the Democrats. It's Hillary Clinton that talked about the basket of deplorables. They're always wanting to put people in groups. And Donald Trump looks at people as individuals. He's like, you know what? I'm going to give you the best playing field, the best opportunity as an individual to prosper in this country. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to win, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to win if you're willing to try hard and do a good job. And so this is a whole new way of looking at things. And I think it's a Big Tent approach. And I think it's attracting a lot of people that aren't, wedded to the whole progressive idea.
Exactly. It's about, not preaching to the choir. There's been speculation of an informal outreach role for Kanye West. We'll see what happens with that. The media is freaking out about it, of course, as they do with absolutely everything that Trump says or does. Let's move on to Russia, though, because we played the clip before the break. Obama gave an interview with The Daily Show last night in which he said that the information revealed by the DNC leak was, quote, fairly routine stuff. He said it was not interesting. He said there was no, quote, explosive content in those emails. Yet we have the flip side of the narrative, which was that Russia supposedly hacking this information completely undermined and influenced the election. Well, you can't have it both ways, Obama. But Bill, first your take on, the regurgitation of this old Russian hacking smear and Obama's seeming flip-flop that the DNC leaks contained routine stuff anyway. So how could that have influenced the election?
Right. It's actually, it's funny, but the media keeps referring to